Hey, welcome to Performance Reviews, where I give you the review from the technician's point of view. And today we're going to be talking about canister versus upright. This is a subject I hear all the time, posted on Reddit. It's an asked question on Google, and there's not a lot of videos on this subject, unfortunately, and it's a really misunderstood subject. Also, for the sake of this video, we're not talking about older uprights that don't have onboard tools. We're talking about modern uprights. Your mother's ancient canister that you grew up with doesn't apply. They've changed a whole lot since this form factor. And by this form factor, I mean the two wheels that can easily roll over, that awkward to store. All those things have been worked out, so never fear. What we're talking about is not this. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of it. And for the sake of this video, we're going to be talking about a Miele C3 canister as our modern canister. It has all the modern features like an electric power head, casters, modern filtration, tools on board, all the good stuff. And I think it's overall a great example of what a modern canister is. Though you could also do the same test with a Lindhouse, a Sebo, a Henry, and a variety of other modern brands. But we're focusing in on one of the most common ones. As far as storage goes, as you can see, most uprights and canisters are going to store in about the same profile. I'd say with the canister, it is going to store a little bit lower than an upright because you can telescope the handle down. One thing I'd like to talk about is adaptability and usability. With an upright, generally you have a fixed handle, with the exception of maybe the Sebo Felix, which means the handle angle is kind of optimized for whatever engineer who designed it. So you're kind of stuck with an angle. Even though you can change it, it dramatically changes the weight because you're lifting the whole machine. With a canister, you can adjust it to whatever user. Granted, the canister has a telescoping wand, which seems to be a pretty common feature. And this is a big deal for somebody like me and my wife. My wife is like 5 foot nothing and I'm like 6'4". So the difference between us is huge. And being able to optimize it for your height. Also, the canister, because you're only dealing with the cleaning nozzle and the wand, you're not dealing with all this bulk, like the vacuum motor. They tend to be lighter weight in the hand. Now, when we're talking about getting under stuff, these vacuums both lay flat, but you can see, because, again, we don't have a vacuum motor here, it's able to get much flatter. So that means your canister is going to get under things a lot easier. And this canister nozzle is the larger of the tools that can go on the end of a canister. It's probably the largest. Let me show you a compact tool. This compact tool, or low profile tool, on the end of this canister is going to get even lower than the power head and much lower than any of the uprights. And this sort of tool doesn't have a rotating brush, but for hard floor area rug use and low traffic areas, that's just fine. Now, just because it's bright orange, we're going to use this older Decade 80, but this has a feature that's now missing, which is a carpet height adjustment. And what that does is allow the head to go up or down depending on the height of the carpet. That's now missing on most vacuum cleaners. You'll notice that feature is present both on the Sebo nozzle and on the Miele nozzle right there for a full range of adjustability. I personally do prefer the push button adjustment versus a knob adjustment, but this is a feature that you need to have if you have any sort of medium to higher pile carpet to be able to push the vacuum across carpet, and you'll find it missing on most modern uprights. So what is the purpose of an upright? Well, the purpose of an upright is to consolidate everything into one package so there's less to manufacture. So you can see this has been all consolidated from two pieces where the motor is following you around on the floor, not in your hands, to one big piece where everything's all together and you're having to hold all that weight of the motor, the dust collection unit, all in your hands, and sometimes even the accessories as well. Now, what makes a modern canister modern? Well, I think maneuverability has a lot to do with it. Modern canisters tend to maneuver. You can push them around. They basically follow you around like having an electrical cord behind an upright. And the general theory behind driving a canister is to have it behind you. You want to keep it behind you and it will just follow you around very easily. Now with the modern canister, because the motor has been brought down and put on casters, you don't have to carry the motor. That means the motor size isn't as much concern, because remember, you're doing your cleaning with the nozzle. So by pulling the motor out of the handle and just letting it follow behind you with wheels, it allows you to have a larger motor in a lot of the cases. It also allows you to put a lot of other things on board here. Like for instance, most canisters that are modern have some sort of cord retract mechanism. So you don't have to wind your cord, you only have to pull it out. A lot of them will have onboard tool storage for all their tools. Most of them have some sort of bag check indicator. The other thing you'll see is a speed control, the ability to turn the suction down. Because it is so powerful, you want to turn the suction down when you're dusting or on an area rug, something like that. Now, the other thing that's modern is the hose quickly connects and disconnects. This is a feature that's often overlooked, and you still see some budget canisters that will have like a pigtail on it, but generally that's a feature you want. Now, inside, that also allows you to have a modern dust bag. These multi-layer dust bags fill up like a pillow, and they're perhaps one of the biggest things to happen in vacuum cleaners in the past 20 years, because you're not breathing the dust, and they're really, really quick to change. So typically, you can expect the vacuum bags to be packaged in a year's worth of bags. This particular machine also has a HEPA filter for allergies installed. Really easy to get to, change, and maintain all that. There's also a bumper that goes all the way around, and then it goes up in case you knock it on the back of a wall or something like that. Now, one of the things that I see that's the biggest misconception that was printed in Consumer Reports, and that is canisters aren't as good for carpets. Well, that's not true. Not only do we have the manual height adjustment, you have a spinning electric brush, which is almost identical to what you'd find in an upright. In fact, these were both designed by the same company in this case. Now, the reason that they said that canisters were not as good for carpet is canisters at one point used to just have an attachment like this for carpet. And this sort of attachment is kind of outdated. It doesn't do well for pet hair, where these rotating brush nozzles do excellent for pet hair, human hair removal. Now, one particular thing about this canister is you see that there is hair on here. Well, there's actually a line that you can quickly cut off any hair. Now, if we're talking about cord storage with an upright, generally the cord is stored here. There's no rewind mechanism. So often uprights have 5 to 10 feet more cord than a canister. But not always. There are canisters that have 40-foot cord reels. So how much more power does a canister have than an upright? Let's find out. We have the same brand upright and canister, and I also have a Hoover here. Let's see. So the Hoover got 30 inches of working vacuum. Now, this upright was not an inexpensive machine. If you weren't aware, the upright that we're using in this video is a $600 product. Getting about 35 inches of working vacuum. On the high-end upright, let's see how much the canister gets. We're getting about 52, 53 inches of working vacuum on the canister. So, big difference even between the same manufacturer of machine. And these were both designed around the same period of time as well. Now let's talk about hoses. Canisters typically have what are known as crush-proof hosing, meaning the hose will snap back. Because the hose doesn't have to store in the upright somewhere, they can do that. Now, while a lot of uprights will have a nice stretchy hose like this, if you kink this, it's wire reinforced. It's going to remember that. As you can see, this upright has a few kinks in it, though that does allow the hose to expand. As you can see, this upright probably has about 2 to 3 feet on the canister in terms of the hose. But if we talk about lower end uprights, you have less hose, and then that stretch hose ends up doing that when you go to use it. So it ends up being kind of a two-handed operation to use the hose on a lot of uprights. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Now, if we talk about wands, with a canister, again, because the wand's always in your hand, it can be very long, usually longer. It's hard to get it all in frame, but this is the wand fully extended on a canister. The upright wands tend to be a little bit shorter. This Miele one is one of the best ones I have found. It's really actually pretty long. Most upright wands tend to be something in the matter of this, like this Hoover. So again, because it has to store on board, a lot of compromises are made with uprights. I think one of the biggest things when you're talking about canisters versus uprights, canister vacuums balance very well on stairs, as you see. This is the largest canister, by the way, in Miele's lineup, and you see it just balances just fine. Where uprights struggle. So generally what's done with an upright is you set it at the bottom of the stairs and you go up. So you're at the mercy of the length of the hose with an upright. While the canister might have the same length hose, the canister is only limited by the electrical cord, because you can just bring it up, do a flight of stairs at a time. In this case, I can actually set the canister at the bottom of my stairs and do my very top of my stairs. But if we had more stairs, all I'd have to do is bring the canister up with me as I go. And it's a lot easier, and I'm not carrying the electrical power head while we do this. So with the upright, let's see what we're doing. We're having to do all this, and now I'm stuck. And that's about as far as I can go to the top of my stairs. So I can't get the last 3 of my stairs with the upright. And if I bring the upright with me, now it's heavy, it's awkward. I'm carrying a lot more than the canister. It doesn't balance on the stairs in the same way. You can also see the hazard that if you bring it up to the top of the stairs with the upright, that the upright could fall down the stairs. Now, if you have a mixture of flooring in your house like I do, and I always have my whole life, I've never lived someplace that was all carpet or all hard floor. I've always had a mixture of both everywhere I've lived, whether it was an apartment or a house. With a canister, you have the ability to ditch the electric power head and go to a floor tool like this, maneuver around on your floors. And having a floor tool that doesn't have a spinning brush means you're not going to scratch or scatter stuff on your hard floor. Where with a lot of uprights, there's no brush roller shut off, even still in 2021. There's a lot more than there used to be. But even this Hoover and a lot of Sharks, you name the upright manufacturer, there's very few uprights that have a proper brush roller shut off now. I think there used to be more actually on the market, but now it's kind of shrunken. So again, no brush roller shut off, which means this brush roller is going to spin. That spinning brush causes debris to fly out of the machine. It also means it could scratch the floor. And worse yet, this machine's actually beating itself up. So that's why I never recommend spinning brushes on hard floors. When it comes to maneuverability, canisters really outshine uprights. When we're trying to get in and around something, you notice this just isn't going to do it without me moving something, and I'm still not going to get very close to the item. Where with the canister, because the tool is much smaller, because we're not holding the whole vacuum, I can get around and maneuver around things quite easily, which I can't do with an upright. And as you can imagine, the weight's a lot less in your hand by doing that. The ability to seamlessly go from an area rug to hard floor to carpet and back to hard floor again is really where a canister will shine. Also, when you go to put this away and you have the convenience of the cord rail because you've done your cleaning and all you have to do is push a button, that says a lot about the machine. I hope this has explained to you why in certain parts of the world uprights aren't even sold and why canisters tend to be the better option for most homes. Give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment below on your experience. If you really want to talk vacuum cleaners, check out the Discord link below. One more thing before we leave. What if, instead of having this on wheels behind you, this was in a remote part of the house and all you were doing was plugging in the hose to the wall and then running your attachment set? Well, that's a very real possibility. That's what's known as a central vacuum. And this is what I personally use in my house and believe is the best option. Now you notice that the part from the Miele that we used in this video looks the same as the one for my central vacuum, and that's because they're made by the same company. I'm not going to get into that in this video. Be known that if you're looking for the ultimate vacuum, a central vacuum is the way to go. above a canister, but if for some reason you can't have a central vacuum installed, I would recommend a canister vacuum. Have yourself a wonderful day.